Capitol Hill, our JD Durkin is standing by with Republican Representative Mariannette Miller-Meeks of Iowa, that state I was just talking about. Go ahead, JD.
That's right, Representative Miller-Meeks, good enough to take the time to join us here. Thank you so much, Baker. Thanks a lot for being here. So you and I just had the opportunity to talk off camera about the fact that you were there inside the House gallery. Looks and feels so much different fundamentally from previous joint addresses to Congress. Your reaction to what we heard from the Commander-in-Chief tonight here in Washington?
Well, it was my first address, and I think the President had a very warm reception. He was well received. It was obvious he knew many of the members, and they greeted him cordially. He greeted them. He talked with several of them on his way to the podium, and I think he gave a speech that was, very... even in its tone, it was, very affable, very receptive. But I hope that the bipartisanship and unity he talked about is not empty rhetoric, and he actually, lives up to that and starts to engage Republicans on issues and ideas and on policy positions, of which, I think are important to all of us.
Did the way that this White House started concern you with regards? I mean, now we've got yet another massive multi-trillion-dollar package that's being proposed. Most Republicans will say, hey, in spirit, maybe we're not against what the president's trying to do. We just prefer something a bit smaller, a bit more targeted, a bit more focused. How would you like to see this White House adapt to better work with the concerns of Republicans?
Well, I think when you have a president come into office and immediately within a short span of 10 days issues over 40 executive orders, one of which was to cancel the Keystone Pipeline and then talk about American jobs, knowing that you had 11,000 jobs ended immediately. And I've talked to those people. I've talked to those family members, some of them who live in my district, whose jobs were ended. People of minority, people of color, who were raising families, who had mortgages, who had car payments, who had no job the next day. I've talked to border agents who, on January 20th at midnight, the border wall stopped. It's already pre-funded, it's already paid for, but yet there is no funding. So I'm hoping that we see more bipartisanship. All of us should be concerned about the level of spending. So we had a $1.9 trillion package. Now we have another $2.3 trillion proposed for infrastructure. We have another $1.9 million for his most recent proposal. And so when you look at that, and you're looking at $6 to $7 trillion over the course of just 4 months being proposed, not all passed, but being proposed, we know hard-working American taxpayers are going to pay that, and they want accountability and they want transparency. And thus far, we haven't seen that. Think about it. I agreed with the vaccinations through the COVID bill, fully supportive of that. But only 0.5% of the COVID package went to public health workforce, the people who you know in your community, that you interact with every day, that vaccinate your kids. But yet, more money went to FEMA than went to public health workforce in the middle of a pandemic. I agreed with $1,400 stimulus checks. That's something I think both Republicans and Democrats agreed with. But really, do criminals need to get a $1,400 stimulus check? Did one go to Bernie Madoff before he died? All of us should be concerned about that. And there is no accountability. There is no transparency, despite what we hear from the White House. So I think when I look at the spending, I'm very concerned about it. And let's be fair, both Republicans and Democrats have been running up deficits. But $7 trillion? In the span of 4 months, all of us need to be concerned, because you know who pays for that? It's not the wealthiest, it's the employers. It's the hardworking American taxpayers. They will pay for that. We will pay for that. We've already seen jobs lost. And another thing that was just interesting, we were given a mask to wear when we went into the chambers. And we're talking about bringing jobs back to the United States, bringing production back to the United States, having made in the USA. We're talking about besting China and besting Russia, but yet we have a mask that is made in China. And there are American companies who retooled in the pandemic to make masks, to make shields, to make PPE. So I just don't want to hear empty talk. I want to see people walk the talk and do what's best for the American people.
Really appreciate you stopping by our camera to take some time to talk with us, and we'll catch up with you soon here in the hallways of the